when we talk about culture, we typically have a definition that is a cognitive definition. We talk about cultures in terms of values, in terms of cognitive constructs such as communication styles or conflict styles. As a matter of fact, before that, when we have an experience of culture, we have an embodied experience. That is to say that we make experience of culture through our body. And we have a limited language to talk about the physical experience of culture. But when you think of me, for instance, as an Italian, being accultured to the feeling of Italian food, that means that I have acquired, through my acculturation, a feeling for not only the aesthetic of food, but a certain taste that is not here up in my mind, but is in my body. So how do I not only talk, but help other people get in touch with the feeling of the acculturation in terms of getting to know better their own feeling for one's own culture, but also how to reach that feeling into a new culture, which is not necessarily a national culture, but some other cultural context. So can we reach the feeling of culture, and by reaching the feeling of culture, reach the feeling of appropriateness into a different cultural context? It is about opening your space of perception, not only looking at others and modeling others, but making that observation your own experience, your own kind of internalizing somebody else's experience through the empathy that you have with the context. So it is an expansion of the boundaries through which we observe and incorporate the context in which we're in. You know, we talk so much about greetings, but what's the appropriateness of greetings? We know that we have lists of do's and don'ts, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. So how do we get to that feeling of perception in order to understand what is right for the person that we have in front that very day? How do we get that feeling of expansion, the empathy, so bodily empathy, in order to be able to approach a group, perhaps a multicultural group, in which the rules certainly don't work, but we need to use this kind of intuitive feeling. Now, intuitive feeling seems a very subjective idea, but as a matter of fact, we can have an intuitive feeling that is socially constructed. And the idea of construction is in fact important here because we construe the idea of culture every day, and we construe the idea of culture through our physical experience. And we construe through our physical experience not only the idea of culture, but the idea of our identity. Identity and culture are two important concepts that need to be looked at also from a physical standpoint, from an embodiment standpoint. And not only in terms of roles, but in terms of physical aspects of your identity. For instance, say that you have a multicultural identity yourself, a bicultural identity, a multicultural identity. So how do these parts of your identity, how are they incorporated and how do they relate to each other? What part are resonating for you in a culture and what parts of yourself are resonating with you in another culture? And can they be integrated? Can they become a flow, a better flow? Can they make you more adaptive and more conscious when you go from one cultural context to another? That is a physical, conscious way of approaching culture.